Okay, so this has to be said because a lot of people understand that certain things in society are flawed, that they have defects, and they are the cause for many unsavory situations, right? What I'm trying to say is society, people, they have a few sacred cows that they won't just let go and just tell it how it is. They don't have the strength, the courage to admit, what is in plain view. Of course, I'm talking about the education system, right? Even today, as we speak, we have a lot of people, a lot of parents who absolutely, without a doubt, know that sending their children to school is a complete and total waste of their time, of their energy, of their brain power. It's a complete waste of their lives, of their potential, right? With few exceptions. Of course, there are a few schools, institutions of education which still do a decent job. But most of these scholarly um, hubs fail miserably. And yet, parents still send their kids to school to be dumbed down because, I don't know, it is expected of them because, there is no other alternative, apparent. People have been bullshitted to such a degree that even though they know better, they're still gonna do exactly what everybody does, right? And to me, there's nothing sadder, there's nothing more horrific and even pathetic than parents sending off their schools to these, concentration camps called schools for them to be indoctrinated and turned into morons. I have to tell you, folks, if you are a parent, you are literally sending your kid to be turned from a dynamo into a obedient, subservient, mindless drone. That's what's happening here. And why do I want to talk about this subject? Because, of course, the school system has failed me as well. When I graduated more than 10 years ago, I was, and I'm gonna say it how it is, because it is the truth. I was semi illiterate at best, and there's no doubt about it. I couldn't think for myself. Okay, so I couldn't use this brain thanks to the school system. Okay, so after all these years, the school system, the teachers, the curriculum, they have all done their jobs as intended. They had destroyed everything wondrous and miraculous that I had, and they had, shat me out as this lumbering, imbecile, right? So think about this. You're sending your kids for so many years, year after year, and for what? You know, I would say that the only goal of a school, of sending your kid to school, is to get a fucking piece of paper that says, oh boy, now you can get yourself a job and pay those taxes. Okay, basically that's the real purpose of school. Apparently, a piece of paper. Now you can get a job. Good on you. Congratulations. Right? And we have to say this, folks. We have to say this. Just because somebody has a wall full of papers and diplomas doesn't mean that they're smart, doesn't mean that they're clever, doesn't mean that they have a high IQ, doesn't mean that they're better than you in any which way. I have come across a lot of people that have college degrees, that have specialties, that have pieces of paper up the ass that says that they are oh boy so smart. And let me tell you, of course with few exceptions, but the people that I have met, that I have come across, let me tell you, they're dumber than a sack of bricks. They want to make you believe that they're smart, but they're not even, you know, equipped to bullshit you in any real way. That's how dumb they are. You see, the hallmark of a stupid person is that he or she believes that they are incredibly gifted in every which way. That is the hallmark of an imbecile, right? So the school system is a complete and total failure in every fucking which way, okay? Now that I look back on it, I mean, it's the saddest thing ever. I mean, you're talking about the most important and wonderful years of a child's life spent in these prisons for nothing at all. You know, the bell rings, everybody goes out. The bell rings, everybody goes in. You know, you have to see that's some sort of psychological experiment, right? Those best years are wasted, are squandered on nothing. Okay? Here's how it is. In school, all you need is the basics, a little bit of literature, grammar, etc., a little bit of math, a little bit of geography and history maybe, and that's pretty much it, right? That could be learned in half a year. So why are we spending like, I don't know, 12 years in school and then 4 or 8 years in college? For what? Right? School, ladies and gentlemen, should prepare a child for life. Okay? School should teach children how to deal not only with the practical parts of life, getting a job, how does money work, how do banks work, what are taxes, are they even legal, no they're not, etc., etc., etc. So a child needs to learn all of these basic things in order to function correctly and properly in life, right? And of course, this is what a family should do, okay? But we're gonna get to that, right? In school, they should teach you certain skills, right? Be they physical, be they mental, or both, right? If you have a certain skill set that people want, people will pay for those skills. It's pretty obvious, right? So children in school from the very first grade should be introduced to various skills, to various types of thought. But again, we have to mention that school does not like for their students to think, especially to think for themselves. A school environment thrives when the students are, you know, mindless, thoughtless, obedient. So a school system has to prepare you for life, has to tell you, listen, down the line, this is what's gonna happen. Down the line, you're gonna have these obstacles. Down the line, you're gonna have these obstacles. Here is what you need to do. These are the methods. These are the steps that you need to take. Right? This is what I consider to be a good school, to prepare a person, a child, for life. And of course, this is what the family should do. This is the responsibility of a family, right? But now we understand that the family, the parents, they have no say whatsoever when it comes to the education of their children, which is bizarre, right? So parents willingly abandon their kids to these soulless strangers to be shaped into these, these mindless consumers, these mindless zombies that will, you know, be part of the workforce soon enough. And I have to tell you, parents, I know you don't want to hear this. I know it is very convenient to just throw your kid into this building and hope that those strangers will do a good job, which they don't. But I have to tell you this, parents, it is your intrinsic responsibility to educate your children so that they become decent human beings in order to have children of their own so that they can raise them to be decent human beings as well. So where does this failure begin? It begins with you, the parents. You've made a terrible mistake in assuming that these institutions of education um, have the best and the most wholesome intentions. You think that at least some of them will try hard to educate and to instill some sort of knowledge into your children, right? And another thing, there is this cliche that still stands for some reason, which is that most people think that most children, most educators, that most teachers are learned, right? That most teachers are adepts, that most teachers are, uh, that they have a wisdom, that they have a background in scholastic achievements. Ergo, what I'm trying to say is that most people today still imagine wrongly that most teachers are smart and that they know what they're doing. And I'm here to tell you, this is not the case at all. Okay, you gotta get rid of this type of thought. Okay, in my case, I would say that 99.9% of every teacher that I come across from kindergarten up to the last year of high school were absolute trash, bro. They did not even belong to the streets. That's how terrible they were in every sense imaginable. Most teachers, they do not know how to handle or how to talk to kids. They don't understand the mentality of kids, right? They don't know how kids operate, right? They don't know how to address a certain subject. They don't know how to teach a certain subject. They don't know how to explain this to their students at all, which is incredible. Most of all, they are these parrots that regurgitate worthless information which they themselves do not really understand. They have just memorized this information, and their job, for which they are paid, is to regurgitate and vomit this senseless data on a loop, on repeat, right? Most teachers don't know what they're doing, okay? They do not know what they're doing. And I think that they secretly know that what they're teaching is absolutely pointless and useless, but they're so devoid and barren of any type of personality or willpower that they don't even care that they're ruining a generation of kids. Because that's what they're doing, okay? Teachers are ruining generations of kids with these data dumps that don't help you in any which way in the real world. Okay? Let's be honest, folks. In the real world, in life, most of what you've learned in school is absolutely useless without a shadow of a doubt. So why spend so many years of your precious life at school even though it is meaningless and pointless? For what? Right? So we have said parents are the first problem. Secondly, teachers are the second problem. Their indifference is catastrophic, right? I mean, I don't even know how these people have the balls to wake up each morning and stare into the mirror and smile, because they're ruining generations of kids and they know it and they don't care, right? They probably think very highly of themselves. They probably imagine that, oh boy, I'm a teacher, I have status. No, dude, no, sweetheart, you're literally dumbing down hordes of children that will one day, unfortunately, some of them will become the next politician, they will become the next business person. Of course, society is going downhill. I wonder why. Maybe because these schools are producing nothing but garbage. Garbage in, garbage out, right? When you have a garbage school system, when you have trash teachers, when you have a shitty, nonsensical curriculum, when you have boards of directors and councils and committees of education and academia that are absolutely horrendous, right? And then when you have impressionable, naive kids which are flung into these fucking gardens of manure, right? And then you wonder why so many people out here are dumber than a sack of bricks. I wonder why. It's because there's only garbage in, garbage out. Garbage people will produce garbage kids. Garbage teachers will produce garbage students. So on and so forth. You get the drift. A piece of shit, deformed, mutilated curriculum that is nonsensical, that is nothing but gibberish, that is pointless, will have the effect of turning kids with all the gifts in the world into goddamn morons. And you only have to look outside your window because, unfortunately, I have to say this. I didn't think it would be possible, but it is true. The most horrible thing, the most unthinkable thing has happened. People are getting dumber. I thought we had reached the bottom, but that is not it. Okay, people are still getting dumber, folks, by the millions each day. How is this possible, right? And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Everybody out here thinks that he or she is a fucking maverick just because they have a piece of paper that says that they are really, really smart, right? Which they aren't. A perfect example to illustrate how the school system has failed us, and this example is undeniable. It's irrefutable, okay? When we were studying literature, okay, this is how literature and grammar is taught in my part of the world, and I'm sure it hasn't changed. We would open our books, we would have maybe a paragraph or two, a couple of excerpts from a novel, from a poem, from a novella, from a piece of literature, right? Like it was this was the size, like maybe two paragraphs, right? Maybe half a page, maybe. So we would have to read out loud this excerpt, right? And then we would be asked certain questions by our teacher. Okay, so we would have to explain what's going on in the text, who is who, what's the action, etc., etc., you know. And of course, the answers had to be exactly what was expected. So there was no room for any kind of interpretation. There was no room whatsoever for you to spout your own view on the matter, on this piece of literature. There was absolutely no way. And let me tell you, if you had an exam and if you wrote your own opinion on the matter, you would fail miserably. No marks, zero. Okay? So, at least in this part of the world, the education system is extremely frigid. All right? This, like, it almost made it, no, it made us hate literature. It made us hate books in general. It made us disgusted and nauseated of the written word, of reading. Like, bro, they're in my entire life, I'm 32 years old. I have never seen anybody with a book in hand. Not on the weekends, not on holiday, not on vacation, not even in retirement. I have never seen anybody in 32 years with a book in hand. No matter. It doesn't matter what book. I have never seen anybody with a book in hand in my lifetime. So this is the desired effect of the school system, right? It is by design, it is premeditated. The people on top that rule from the shadows obviously know that if you read constantly, something amazing happens in your brain. It's like a muscle that is finally being used. And the more you read, let's say your brain gets more and more buff, right? So they know that they have to force people to be sickened by reading. Okay, this is what school does to people. I mean, you can't even argue it. Like, nobody likes reading. And I remember when I was in school, hell no, nobody talked about books in any type of way, never, ever. Not the kids, not the adults, not the neighbors, nobody. Because this is what the school does. Okay? It is intentional, right? Reading makes you think. When you think, certain questions arise. When questions arise, you get angry because you realize the truth that you've been bamboozled your whole life. Okay? So this is what happened, right? School is a joke. It is a comedy. And I just remember, like, bro, 99% of what they taught me was completely useless and I forgot most of it. Okay, so what was the point? Of course, the point was to turn me and you and everybody into mindless scarecrows, right? After so many years of being a student, I came out the other end as this semi-illiterate dum-dum, because that's what I was. There is no shame in admitting the truth. I was a bona fide textbook dum-dum, and I had some good luck, thankfully, because one day something happened. My computer was fucked up. I couldn't access the internet, and I looked around in my room and I saw all of these books, right? And I began reading. And I kept on reading one book after the other, and I realized, holy shit, reading is actually fun. Literature is fun. Like, there's some crazy shit in books, right? This is what the school system should have instilled in me, in all of us, right? But they do the opposite. Show me a kid in school that just says it out loud. I fucking love books. You'll not find that kid. You won't. All right? I'm willing to bet money on it, right? So I realized that books were amazing things, and I kept on reading for years, right? And this is what reading does. It awakens something in you, okay? It it produces a true consciousness, a true awareness. This is what the school system should have done to us a long time ago. But by now, we should all know that the school strives to do the actual opposite. The school wants to create illiterate dummies, okay? That is the precept, the creed of every educational institution. And you can't convince me of anything else, right? So, by reading a couple of books, I had gained more than when I spent so many years of my life in the school, which is incredible, right? This alone should tell you that the school is a sham, right? It is nothing but gibberish. And you need, this is just advice, of course, but to me, if I were a parent, I would never send my kids to school, period. Okay? If you have kids in school, I would suggest that you pull them out and put a book in their hands, right? It was George Carlin who said, yeah, it's important to teach kids to read, but it's more important to teach kids to question what they read. It's more important to teach kids to question everything. It's more important to teach kids to think about everything that comes into their sphere, right? Because today, most people simply accept everything they read, everything they hear, etc., etc. They do not have the ability to think critically, right? So it's amazing that you can read, but you have to also question what you read, right? Question everything, right? Believe nothing, right? Trust nobody, right? Etc., etc. This is, I would say, this is the definition of wisdom. The school system has failed us. When I finally graduated, I was, dumber than a sack of bricks, semi-illiterate, and it was only by random chance that I stumbled upon a couple of books, and I would say that these books saved my life, right? And I think that the only way for you to attain a real, authentic education is to study for yourself, okay? You have to study for yourself. You have to be an autodidact. You have to be a polymath. You have to do it by yourself. You cannot trust anybody else to be your mentor. Especially, you cannot trust these institutions to teach you anything worthwhile, okay? So if you want to learn, if you don't want to be illiterate anymore, you have to pick up books and you have to read everything. If you read everything, you will have the ability to distinguish what is quality from what is, subpar, lackluster, mediocre garbage. That is the only way. If you only read good books or bad books, you won't know the difference. You have to read as wide as you can, right? Any kind of subject, okay? That is the only way for you to, siphon the trash from the gold, if you would, right? So it was only thanks to these books that I managed to survive. So that's about it, okay? Stop dooming your kids to a fate worse than death. There is nothing as horrible as being dumber than a sack of bricks. Don't turn your kids into morons and imbeciles and dumbasses. Okay, because that is a fate worse than death. Okay, pull them out, save them from these fucking evil institutions. Okay, because their intentions aren't wholesome. Okay, their intentions aren't wholesome. And I know that we all like the cliche, ignorance is bliss. Maybe, maybe, but if I had a choice to go back to being ignorant, I and being happy, truly happy in my ignorance, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't make that choice. I wouldn't make that leap. I wouldn't go back to ignorance and happiness. That's just how I am. Because I don't see that as a decent way of living. It just seems pathetic, it seems petty, it seems sad most of all. And of course, it has no courage. Being blissfully ignorant is not something to be esteemed. It's not something that deserves honor or respect. Okay? It should be shamed. It should be frowned upon. But as we all know today, the village idiot is now mainstream. The village idiot is now the role model, the universal role model, and 9 out of 10 people, sometimes even 10 out of 10 people, are dumber than a sack of bricks. The village idiot has crawled out of the woodwork, and the village idiot has now become the unanimous, de facto example of what a person should be. Prominent beyond belief, the village idiot. The idiot is here to stay, and most people don't have a problem with it. You know why? Because they're idiots as well. Okay? So the only advice that I can give is to read and think for yourself. Think for yourself. Suspect everything and everybody. Don't just accept everything that's given to you. Especially if it sounds good. Okay? Especially if it caters to your sensibilities. Right? Don't just accept everything on a silver platter. Right? I mean, there's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than being ignorant, willfully ignorant. Who cares? This indifference. So what if I'm a moron? Who cares? I'm living life. I'm living my best self, my best life. You see, this is the mindset of a cretin, And I ask people, you see, that have this high opinion of themselves. I ask, what do you see in the mirror every morning? And of course, most of them say that they see an angel. They see something wonderful, which tells me that they're morons, that they have no self-awareness, and they don't have the ability to critique themselves. They don't have the ability to see their own defects and their own flaws, right? Which is a sign of imbecility, right? So I refuse to accept ignorance. To me, it's not blissful, okay? The school system has failed us because it has been corrupted and bought and paid for a long time ago by very conniving and very clever people, all right, whose intentions are pure evil, right? So the best thing that you can do is to take your kids out of school. School system has failed us. It will keep on failing us until, and it will keep on going the way that it has until everybody is so dumb that they think that they're geniuses. Okay? I believe that this is the true goal of the school system, to produce people so stupid, so mindlessly deranged, that they actually believe that they're geniuses. Okay? Because, of course, you understand, don't you, that idiots and morons and cretins who have a very high opinion of themselves can be easily manipulated, they can be controlled easily, right? And they can be maneuvered as you want, like puppets on strings, because, of course, there's nothing going on here, right? So they don't even notice the manipulation, right? And that's something that I don't want to be. So that's about it, you know? That's about it. Uh, if you want to support your boy, I got a few books on Amazon, right? The link will be down below. Thanks for watching. Keep on reading. Keep on thinking for yourself. And see ya.